Good evening. Welcome to A World Awakening. Thank you for joining us. I have a very unusual story to tell you tonight, and I am going to let my guest help me tell the story. Her name is Angie Sturm, and I want to bring her right on, and then you'll basically catch up with everything as we go along. So, Angie, welcome to A World
Hi.
Awakening, my darling.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I still can't believe this is happening.
I know, it was a real wake-up moment for me too. So let me just start by telling everybody, you live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. You have this fabulous location, an old haunted funeral home, correct? Called the
Yes.
Bell Mansion.
Mhm.
Okay, so my Facebook friends list has been filled up to 5,000 for, I don't know, a decade. But if there's an opening on the list, then whoever is trying to get onto my friends list is able to send me a friend request. And that's how Facebook works. At least that's how Facebook works this year. And I was sitting like 2-3 mornings ago, like this week, I was sitting having my coffee in the same cup that says, "Sorry, I can't. Mercury is in retrograde." In other words, fuck off, world. I'm having my coffee. And I was just sitting, I was looking at my phone, and all of a sudden I picked it up. I scrolled and I hit the Facebook tab for no reason. I have been avoiding Facebook for several years now because I find it to be, I don't know, like, a toxic cesspool of venom. So, I just pretty much avoid it unless I'm going to put something out that's uplifting, and I do it right through my phone. I didn't have anything to put up that morning. I don't know why. I picked up the phone and opened Facebook, and I saw that there was one opening on my friend list. I wasn't at my 5,000 limit. So immediately I went to friends to see what friend requests were in there so that I could pick one and fill the hole immediately, because I've got like 900 people waiting. And, I don't have time. My SEO does occasionally go through. And if there's anybody in there whose account is closed or it's been deactivated or whatever, and then she'll call me and she'll say, okay, go pick like 14 or 15 people. And so then I have to put a little time aside, because I learned the hard way. You can't just pick and confirm. You better know who you're bringing onto your page. Learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So I looked, and you were like 4 or 5 down. And I looked at that tiny little picture. Bill, will you put up the picture that I saw of Angie in this tiny little square? That picture. Thank you. Precious. And I immediately said out loud, I know her. And I clicked on it. I went to your page. I looked at all your wicked cool stuff. I realized that you were the owner of this fabulous location that I've never been to in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I saw that one of the logos that you used was of a full eclipse. And I thought, oh shit, this is, cosmic kismet,
Yes.
And I just loved okay, Bill, put up the picture of the of her of the eclipse thing. Not that one. That's the actual eclipse. The other one.
That's okay. It's close.
That's another actual eclipse, Bill. Okay, you've run out of options.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
I love it.
I know. Isn't that great? So I saw that and I was like, oh my God. Okay, you can take it down now so I can see her. God bless you. Now go take a nap. He's so bless his heart. So you can sleep right through the rest of the show. I swear to God, we're not going to stop talking until you I have 5 minutes left in the private chat.
Perfect.
Which I never believe, because, time. You'll be amazed how fast this hour goes. It will blow your mind.
I'm sure.
And so it's an illusion. It's a human construct anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to finagle every 4 years with the calendar to make it work.
Amen.
So anyway, I immediately accepted your friend request, and then I sent you a message. which you answered immediately. And then we just started. I said something like, welcome to my netherworld or something like that. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
like,
actually you. Like, yeah, it's actually me. Hi. I know you from somewhere. How do I know you? And you assured me that we had not met in person on this plane of action on this planet at this time. And yet I knew you and you knew me. And I, after we texted for a few minutes, I was like, no, here's my phone number. Just call me. And we talked for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, as though we just picked up right where we left off. It's on some other planet, in some other dimension, in some other time space continuum. And I just felt a connection with you based on that tiny, tiny little picture in my phone on the Facebook friends list. Now, there's no explaining this other than we were supposed to meet. We were supposed to have this. You were supposed to be on this show tonight. And I wanted to let people know that magic shit like this happens. And you better be awake and aware and look at the clues and the little cosmic kisses that the universe will throw your way. Because otherwise, if you remain oblivious and head in the sand, you're going to miss the magic. And even if, as I've always claimed, magic is some kind of science we don't yet understand, we call it magic. But it really is the manipulation of energy. But sometimes the universe will manipulate us to put people together that are supposed to be together. And I expressed to you that I felt like it was that what's happening right now during what I refer to as the paradigm shift, the ongoing paradigm shift, that is really a spiritual evolution and revolution in the course of our own growth as human beings, that we were supposed to know each other, meet each other, work together. I'm supposed to go up to your beautiful event space place, and that I will know you for the rest of my life. And then wherever we go from here, we're bound to meet again. Because somehow it works that way. And just because we don't understand it doesn't mean that it's not real. So with that said, introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi. Yes. My name is Angie Sturm, and from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Oh gosh. Little bit about me. I do run. It's an event center. It's called the Bell Mansion in Fort Wayne, Indiana. 131 years old. Gorgeous place. All the woodwork's original. All the fireplaces are original. It's just an amazing piece of history that deserves all the TLC in the world. You want to talk about universe things. The last probably about a year, I've really been focusing on myself, figuring out why I am the way I am. Who am I? What does that look like? Why do I do what I do? And it's been really drawn to the universe and signs. And I'm still learning. Been told like I'm an empath, I'm intuitive, I'm, an old soul. And it's just been a really cool ride. I used to work at a credit union as a loan officer.
I'm so sorry.
Again, I love people and I love educating, and I didn't mind it. I again, because I love to get to know people's stories, where they're from, why they are the way they are. And it just kind of happened. My parents bought this building, and I swear it's just a magical place. They were going to do like a bed and breakfast, and it fell through. And then my parents were like, hey, we're going to sell it. We're done. We're over it. Quit my job. And I don't know why, something just told me, was like, this is where you belong. This is
Mhm.
I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Are you serious? Never. Again, I worked at a credit union. I didn't know. I mean, I have somewhat of a business brain, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Um, and just kind of fast forward to now, we're just trying to save a piece of history. And the paranormal and the metaphysical world all just kind of found me. 3 years ago, I was very close minded. And I said this on the phone, I believe. I was just a bitch. I was just like, y'all are weird. And I feel really bad, like, really. But I have grown so much that, the paranormal kind of found us. It took us 17 months to become an event center. So in the meantime, paranormal teams from all over the country came, and I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, what? You're gonna pay to just hang out at the building and find some cool stuff, or at the time I was like, ooh, weird stuff. Like, what are you doing? But at the time I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to keep our lights on, for the 17 months that it took to become an event space, which that was all BS in itself, but that's a whole other 4-hour conversation. But yeah, and now I have found myself literally, like, it's awesome. You want to talk about universe and like signs. I always see signs, numbers, 1111, 111.
11,
And then
when
I
it
even
popped up
text
in my
you.
text from you that
Yeah.
morning, I was like, oh my God, she
Yeah.
gets it. There's
Yes.
a cosmic connection. There is a galactic family connection. And then, I when you sent me the picture that I requested, your Facebook biopic,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I opened it up on my phone so I could download it and save it as for your contact, because it's such a beautiful picture. And I looked, I'm like, we have the same eyes. We're from the same place.
I swear to you, I thought that same thing when I first logged on. I was like, ooh, our eyes. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, I'm learning about all that. I always knew I was a little different.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what that looked like.
When
And
we
now I
get
have my
together,
tribe.
I will give you a formal introduction to the galactic family if
Mm,
they don't do it themselves before we meet.
mm,
And they very well might.
okay.
But still, you'll keep me posted, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But honest to God, I mean, I'm just going to, I'm not traveling a lot this year because, of course, I'm taking care of my
Mhm.
mother.
Yeah.
But I will make a point. You said to me on the phone, I don't care if it takes another 10 years for me to
Mhm.
meet you, to get you here in person. We have to
Mhm.
make this happen and
Mhm.
build an event around all of this story that we just shared.
Yes.
And that's going to happen this year.
Yes.
I
I
know
absolutely. Let's do it. And it's like, just hearing you talk earlier, I had just full goosebumps. Like, and like you said, you have to be aware. I've always been very self-aware. I just didn't know what it all meant. I'm like, oh, okay. And I just like to help people and just how everything lines up, just from, seeing a cardinal to seeing a penny. Like, a penny is my grandma
it.
and a dime is my aunt.
Mhm.
Um, I trust the universe. It's going to provide. I just literally, I get up one day at a time and I'm like, okay, what can I do today to better myself and better the bell? And I just know it's all going to work out, do the right things for the right reasons. And, it's going to work out.
When
So
you
it's,
spend every day of your life trying to be a better person than you were the day before,
mm-hmm,
you can't fail.
mm-hmm,
You can't.
mm-hmm,
When I lecture about this, I lecture a lot about metaphysics and spirituality, not just ghosts and spirits and intergalactic beings,
mm-hmm,
but how we interact with all of that. And I use the metaphor of the river of life. And when we're little kids, we see the river and it's a mighty river and it's so scary because the current is rushing past and the white caps and it's all moving so fast and we're just observing. And then we get a little older and we stick our toe in the water to feel that sensation of the water rushing over our foot. But that
mm-hmm,
scares us because it's so powerful. And then we get a little older and older, and then we begin to learn to swim. And then we kind of come into our own. as quote unquote adults. And the first thing that we do is jump into the river and start swimming against the current, because we think that what we want is up around the corner. We can't see it, but we're pretty sure that what we want is up where we can't see it, but it's against the current. And so what we end up doing is exhausting ourselves till our arms are like lead and our lungs are on fire. And a lot of people drown because they don't know any other way. And the easiest thing for any of us ever to do, ever, is to simply flip over and float, because the universe knows the way. The current will take us home. It doesn't have to be a fight or a struggle. It's just a ride. And the destination is the journey, and the journey is the destination. And so that metaphor I have developed and relied on, to help people imagine how easy it can be if you allow it to be. If you allow it to be. And I'm not saying for one moment that life is easy. Life is one series of challenges and obstacles after another. And the show that I just did with my partner, Jeff Turner, is called Soul School. The premise of which is that Earth is soul school, where we come to learn to love and grow spiritually and learn our lessons. But unlike conventional school on planet, where you go to school and you learn the lesson and then you take the test to make sure that you've learned the lesson, it's reversed, so that the test comes first and the lesson comes from the test. That's how we either learn our lessons well and move on, or we have to come back over and over and over again until we learn our lessons well. And then we can transform that. We go into this transcendental mode where we are still part and parcel of the universe, but don't have to be tethered to school, because we learned what we needed to know here so that we can do well elsewhere.
Oh, I completely agree with all that. Like, it's obviously we're all evolving every day and learning, but I had to learn how to be happy right now. Kind of how you said, happiness is not the destination. It's creating that every day. Like you said, life's always going to have
challenges, always. But happiness is an inside job. Nobody can provide it for us.
Exactly. And you just try your best to have a positive attitude. Like, shit's going to happen to you. And it's hard. It's absolutely hard. Like you said, life is hard. It's hard, but you have to learn from it and just make the best of it. And I don't know. It's been such to look back, and I don't know. It's just, I'm speechless. Like how we were on the phone. I'm like, is this really happening?
Well, when you're telling me you just recently went through a hard time, and I've been through relationships where when I was on the other side of it, was like, why did that happen? How did that happen? Why did that happen? What did I need to learn from that relationship so that I can move on to another that is healthier, more constructive, less codependent, and more uplifting? And so, some of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life is to leave someone, because I don't look back and I don't go back. And I've been alone now for 15 years. I really like it. And it doesn't mean that I don't have love in my life, and it doesn't mean that I don't have someone in particular that I adore. I do. But it is what it is, how it is. And to acknowledge that, to accept it, to live with it, even if it's an unrequited love, is comforting in its own right. To know that I found my perfect person, who I might only see 4 or 5 times a year, but that's okay. That's okay.
Absolutely.
And the rest of my time is spent writing, podcasting, mowing the lawn, feeding the dogs, caring for my family. And it's very satisfying in its own right. And who knows what's down the road? Who knows if there's anything down the road in terms of that? But I find that for me anyway, the most challenging thing is being in a relationship. And when I left my last relationship 15 years ago, by necessity, is when I threw myself into writing my trilogy of books. Wow. And had I been in any relationship with anyone, those books wouldn't exist. They wouldn't, because the priority in my life would have been that individual, not the project. So as I look back on it now, I see how everything fell precisely into place and happened exactly when it needed to happen in order for me to get from there to here. And here we are.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like, I swear life is like dominoes or like a puzzle. You have to have even the ugly pieces for it to make sense and be whole. And yes, I can totally relate to, I had to realize not to be so much a people pleaser and put myself first and realize what I had energy for and what I didn't. I was never really alone. I went from relationship to relationship, you know what I mean? And just because I was scared to be alone. Now I realize what a badass I am. I'm not going to lie to you. And it's so awesome. Like, when you finally fall in love with yourself and you have your tribe and I'm again speechless for that, because I have one of my tribe members sitting here with me. She is literally like, I don't know. I didn't know her 3 years ago, and I can't have life without her right now. So it's awesome. Like, you go back to literally everything happens for a reason. And I don't say that like everything's already like pre-planned.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also think that in a way, when we are living in concert with the universe, we live into our destiny, even if we're the ones that are creating our destiny. It's not like it's pre-planned, written out on, legal pad somewhere. No, we are self-motivating, self-creating beings, self-manifesting beings.
Yes. So I just always try to be positive. And everyone, some people are like, "Oh, you're so fake," and I'm like, not really. I'm like, exactly. Again, this past year has been very challenging, but growing. I'm like, I don't give a flying F what anyone thinks anymore.
No, you can use the whole word on this broadcast, baby. Let it rip. Because, they expect it from me. They know what kind of mood I am based on how many. There are viewers of this show that count the curses.
I like it. Like a drinking game?
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. But all I drink is coffee. I'm so boring because, if I were to drink alcohol, well, let's just put it, I'm uninhibited enough. I don't need any help. Caffeine is as strong as it gets for me.
Good.
Good. But, I felt an innate connection with you, like when I met my friend Lenny, who is up in Michigan, and as soon as we met each other, we embraced immediately. I mean, we came together immediately, and now she basically runs my whole world. She does. Erin is one of I call them my assisters. Greta, one of my assisters. All women. And I count on them like air to breathe. It's just so important to have somebody I can pick up the phone and go, oh my God. Unlike you'll get over that thing of always trying to be positive. Believe me, you'll get over it. I mean, it works for a while. It feels good for a while. Don't get stuck there, because as I think Erin says, it's not all unicorns and pixie dust, or whatever she says. It's
unicorns.
It's not.
Yeah.
Hold on, coffee.
No, you're all right.
Allergy season down here.
Yes.
All my plants are in the house tonight because we're going to have a frost.
Oh.
So all the plants that we just got to put outside to announce spring is here, the grass is riz, I wonder where the flowers is. They're all in the parlor right now, because otherwise they would die overnight.
Yuck. Well, I'm used to Indiana weather. I swear it's bipolar up here. It'll snow.
Well, I'm from Rhode Island, so I know if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, just
exactly. Duh,
that would be on the same latitude, I believe. Have basically the same weather. And so, I'm not positive all the time. I can be. My mother taught me how to be happy even when I'm miserable. Just to be happy to be miserable. But I do have my miserable moments where I'm angry and I'm disgruntled and I'm so bent out of shape about what's going on in the world, what's going on in this country. I mean, I burn that for a different kind of, it might be negative energy, but I burn it as jet fuel to be an activist, to make a difference in the world everywhere that I can. And I am authentically hopeful and positive, and I am authentically hopeless and miserable all at one time. And that is my true authentic self, because I have resented since I think the moment of birth, have resented being here. Spent my whole childhood looking around going, what is this? And why am I here? This planet, this place, and everything on it seems so foreign to me. And I spent the first 50 years of my life just wandering around, wondering what I was supposed to do with my life, because it couldn't just be about running one business after another, owning a jewelry store, owning a restaurant, owning this, owning that, making money, going to the bank, depositing the money, spending the money. I was so unfulfilled. It seemed like, in my heart, I was Technicolor. I was like Disney on mescaline, but I was living in a black and white world. And it took me a long time to find my way, a long time, because I was afraid to speak my truth. And my truth was from my childhood, growing up in probably the most famous haunted house, if not in America, and one of the most famous in the world. And it was because I found the courage to tell our story, our family story of the 10 years that we lived at the farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, when I was a child. When we arrived, I was 12. When we left, I was 21. To say that I was there during my formative years is the understatement of the new millennium. And it taught me everything that I needed to know about life and death and the afterlife. And then I thought about it for 30 years before I picked up a pen and started writing down my experiences, before I even told anybody in my family that I was going to tell our story of the farmhouse, because I was so afraid that they would tell me not to. I got to an age where I didn't care how people reacted to it. because, as my mother once said, if we had to live there and experience what we did, then it is incumbent upon us to tell this story, because this isn't the kind of story that one should rightfully take to the grave. And she was absolutely correct about that. Absolutely correct about that. And the thing about telling our story, it doesn't matter that it was, piecemealed and made into a motion picture. That doesn't matter. It was the cathartic healing process of the telling of the story that changed my life forever. And the reason that it did is because it has emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually liberated everyone who's read it, everyone who dared to jump into volume 1. And when they came up for air at the end of volume 3, they were profoundly changed, permanently altered by having shared that experience with my family. That's why the book was so important. That's why what you're doing is so important. You said earlier in the broadcast that you love people and you love to give them a venue to tell their story. That's so important, because, the 3 most important words in this or any other language are I love you, but also I believe you. Now, people need to be freed, to be liberated, to tell their own story, because every single one of us has one. Doesn't mean it necessarily has to be supernatural. Just our natural growth process through life is fascinating enough, even if we never encounter anything that would be considered paranormal. But for you to create that space to save and reclaim and then create the space that you have is very much akin to what I've done with 3 books. You just did it with an old funeral home instead. So tell me, when the people come and they investigate, what kind of stuff do they pick up on? I mean, like, how active is the house or the mansion, really?
Yeah. Again, this is also new to me, but they are getting, you'll hear footsteps, knocking. To me, it all feels, and I hear this from other people too, it all feels almost just positive. Like you can feel their presence, and it's just like this magical, loving place. Like people walk in, and again, we all say that it's the magic of the bell. Like truly, it has brought so many people together and just talk about universe stuff, like you said, all the alignments. It's been cool. We've been getting a lot of music lately, and no like radios or no players or anything. A lot of disembodied voices, shadow figures. And again, this is also new to me. I'm learning EVPs and stuff like that. And like I said in the beginning, I had no idea about any of this. I felt so bad how like closed-minded I was. But now I'm like, hey, as a business brain, like, hey, we need to keep these doors open and cool. So just learning. It's been so cool. And the connections between the original owners, Robert and Clara Bell, he was a state senator and invested in natural gas. He's the reason why Fort Wayne got natural gas when we did. So all the fireplaces were never wood burning. They were gas. Squirrel. But anyways, the original owners are so parallel, I feel, to like my parents. And there's just so many connections and similarities that I'm like, oh, wow. Like it was all just meant to be. It was all so meant to be. Going back to, you said stories, and I don't know why even the wording of you saying story, we'd say that all the time. Like I tell everybody, all of our volunteers, anyone that walks through the door, please welcome them. This is, create that safe place where people can be themselves, share their stories and not be judged. And I guess how I could relate to that was I fought mental health my whole life, and 14, 15 got diagnosed with anxiety, depression, here's some pills. And it's come a long way in, 20 some years, but I always felt scared. I couldn't talk. Like I didn't have my voice. Like, people are just going to think I'm crazy and da, 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 da. And finally I got to the level where I just started speaking up because I knew I wasn't alone. I'm like, the more people I would talk to about my experiences, they're like, oh my gosh, you too? I'm like, yeah. So now I'm just an open book. I really don't have anything to hide because I know we all need each other. And your little piece might help me. And, maybe my experience will give you some headset, or some help to what you're facing. It's just so many correlations. And so it's just cool. So many people say it's the magic of the bell. Like you walk in and you just feel it. I have so many other synchrony stories that I can't even think of right now. It's just awesome. It's a 15,000 square foot building, 131 years old. Obviously not as old as The Conjuring, but it is just gorgeous. All the woodwork, just these people had money, and they just entertained. And literally this building sat empty for 2 years before my parents got involved. And it's right downtown Fort Wayne. It would have easily been torn down. So,
which is shocking. But so many of the most magnificent homes in this country have been demolished because they were perceived as too expensive to renovate or upkeep. And that is shocking to me, that people don't try to preserve our history. The house I grew up in 12 years is going to be 300 years old.
Oh my gosh. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not so cool. Cold. Oh my God. I have PTSD when the temperature drops below 50. I do. I'm like, I'm going to freeze to death. I know I'm going to freeze to death. Oh my God. I can't get this cold. And it's from growing up in that house.
I'm sure.
It was just, I would cry when I woke up and the alarm clock went off and I had to get up out from underneath 3 quilts and go downstairs and get naked and get in the shower in a house where there was most likely a layer of ice on the water in the toilet. Just absolutely miserable in terms of the environment. The house was clapboard and horsehair plaster. That was it. And yet built like, oh my God, that house is still standing is a testament to the craftsmanship that went into it. But they built it with what they had. And they didn't have PVC pipes, and they didn't have, what do you call that stuff that keeps your house warm? Insulation.
I know, I can never think. It's fine.
Whatever, that pink shit.
Yeah.
The glass stuff. Just it didn't exist. And so, when we were living there, I was thinking, oh my God, how absolutely miserable it must have been at a time when there was no electricity, when there was nothing but candles or oil lamps and firewood to keep this massive house warm. I don't even go up there after October. That's it. From October to April or May, you couldn't pay me enough to step north of the Mason-Dixon line. Just no.
Hey.
But that was trauma. That was childhood trauma. It wasn't the ghosts that freaked me out. I literally thought I was going to freeze to death in that house. Not my idea of a good time.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the creature comforts. I do like 72 degrees at all times.
Hey.
But hey, you've got gas fireplaces. I know you'll keep me warm. I know you will. I
just love that. I don't know. Did you have experiences your whole life, or was it just in that house?
I know that I had my first conscious contact with extraterrestrials when I was 13 at the farm. I also know that I had contact prior to that, but I was too young to understand what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that there's a point of correlation and integration between spirits and extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for all intents and purposes, spirits are extraterrestrials. They're
Mm-hmm.
no longer earthbound souls. They don't inhabit the earth in the same way that we do.
Mm-hmm.
They are free to come and go as they please. So I really lump them into one category as off world beings that occasionally visit. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but, to be honest with you, Angie, I don't know. I don't know. And if my family doesn't know, there's nobody on this planet that does, because
Mm-hmm.
we were steeped in it, immersed in it for the better part of a decade. Um, and the universe kept us there. It literally kept us there
Mm-hmm.
till we learned what we needed to learn from that house. And then 32 years later, I picked up a pen and started writing
Mm-hmm.
my experiences on index cards and then put them into a recipe box until the box was full. And I thought, this is a book. And it turned into 3.
Good
Took
for you.
7 years
Good
to
for
from
you.
start to finish, 7 years to write all 3 volumes. Um, and it was, I mean, I devoted to the project, like to the exclusion of all else. So I understand you putting all your time and effort and energy into the Bell Mansion to make it the very best that it can be so that you can share it with the world. I mean, really, we traveled on parallel tracks. Your experience is slightly different than my own, but we both felt like we had a mission, that we had a purpose. It was something beyond what we were doing, and had the courage to walk away from what we were doing and forge that new path, blind, not knowing where it was going to take us, and leaving the security of a nice, cushy job with a
Mm-hmm.
401k and health
Mm-hmm.
insurance and paid time off and the whole
Mm-hmm.
9 yards. And walking away from that, everyone I worked with thought I was out of my mind when I said, I'm turning in my notice, I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to make a movie.
Yay.
Oh, she's lost it. She has lost it. We wish you well, Annie. We love you so much. She has lost her fucking mind. Well, but we love you very much, and your job will always be open, and you can always come back if it doesn't work out. You know.
Yeah. I had to beg. I had to beg my parents. They were like, "You're nuts. What do you,
Yeah.
what do you want to do?" And I had no idea. Are you serious? Like, it was not, I don't know. Obviously, just a universe thing. Here I
Yeah.
am begging my parents, you know what I mean, to save
Yeah.
this building and now we just have this weird, strange connection. And I'm working on that, setting more boundaries. But like, I can tell when the house is uneasy because then I get uneasy. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's learning all that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. It really is scary. But you have to get out of your comfort zone to grow. And even just me being on here today, like even Amber and all my family are like, we're really proud of you, because typically my anxiety is just, nope, can't do it. Like,
But you're not feeling it right now, are
no.
you? I told you. You're gonna come on the show tonight, and you're gonna be like, shoo,
Mhm.
off you go.
And it's
There's nothing. I mean, this is such a cushy place in cyberspace to land.
Mhm.
And I personally find myself to be very disarming with people. I make people feel comfortable,
Yes.
because I will be the first one to admit my flaws and foibles. And so they feel perfectly fine just being themselves. And that's what I want. But I'm going to tell you right now, in front of all the eavesdroppers out there, that we're going to do a live show from your house when I get there. And we're going to do a tour, and I am going to introduce you to the spirits, the active entities that are in that house, and introduce you to the galactic family and bring you into my nether world as I enter your nether world. And you're going to have a quantum leap in consciousness in terms of your own personal growth. Expect that you will cry a lot. Expect that you will tremble a lot. Expect that your mind will be blown. But on the other side of it, you will be perfectly prepared to move forward with this mission. And I will do everything in my power with as we bring our tribes together. Everything in my power to bring you to that place, because I'm supposed to, because you're part of my mission and I am part of yours. Or that whole little Facebook thing never would have happened.
Isn't that crazy?
It never would have happened. It would have been somebody else at the, everything happens in its right and proper time. Everything does.
That whole thing was nuts.
For purpose and reason. Nuts.
I never really check my Facebook messages, to be honest with you, because
me either. I have thousands.
I can only imagine yours.
I can't do it.
It's too much.
It's
way too much.
Possible. Lenny follows them, and if there's something really, really important that comes through, or somebody wants to do an interview or blah, 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 she'll contact them for me, or Erin will contact them for me. I mean, all my sisters have all my contact information, all my, they decide. They have to weed through it, because I get like 1,500 messages a week just on Facebook Messenger. I wouldn't do anything other than sit and answer messages all day. And most of them are, when are you going to write another book? Well, when would I have time? Tell me exactly when I would have time while I'm answering all of these messages. And I love these people. I know thousands of them. I have met thousands and thousands of people in person and have had personal interactions with them. They're not just Facebook friends. They've become my friends, so it's, I wish that, I have a clone machine like on back order with Amazon now for, years. Thank God they didn't require a deposit.
I freaking love you.
And, but I would need several of me. What do you mean 5 minutes, Bill? What do you mean?
Uh-oh.
See, I don't believe him. I sent him an atomic clock for Christmas.
Wow.
Bill, come on the screen. I don't care how sick you are. Come up on the screen for a minute and tell me how lovely Angie is. Are you still there, or are you in the bathroom? Where are you? He'll come up. He'll show up. There he is. There he is. Oh, there he is with all of his extraterrestrial friends in his magical studio.
I love it.
The city just made me feel better.
You know what? Bill is one of the finest human beings that I have ever known and loved in my life. And the first time I wrapped my arms physically around him was actually in Rhode Island. And I was like, oh my God. And we'd already been working together for a couple of years when I met him. So tell her how magical that is, that moment when you physically connect with each other.
You know something, Angie, when I first met her, I was going to go to the farmhouse, but then I fell ill. And I met her briefly with Erin, and I can't remember who else was there, but I said, I can't jeopardize these people getting them all sick. And I went home. But just to be, when I saw her for the first time, it was, I'm not just exaggerating, it was like an aura.
I was all glowy and shit.
Yeah. And
I was excited to see him too. So,
And the people that are part of this community are just unbelievable. It is a galactic family. And now you are part of that family forever. So hopefully we'll see some of the stuff that you guys are going to do in the future at the Bell Mansion, this live stream. And maybe if I ever get time, I'd love to come down and see it myself. And if you guys are together, that'd be awesome. But yeah, it is a great community. And by the way, I'm going to put your banner up because you are having an event for the solar eclipse, right?
Yes. So we're super excited. We're just doing like an open house, 2-day open house on April 7th and 8th from 1 to 5, just opening the doors. Hey, we'll have a couple like wedding vendors there.
Wow.
You can buy a wedding gown to a DJ but it's all free. You can just walk in and just kind of wander around.
And
We're like,
feel the vibe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I promise you the vibe. Like I can already tell.
Well, what we should do is we should have Bill. He lives close enough. He can drive out there and bring all of his equipment and stuff and set us up. And we'll just do live streaming right from the mansion. And he can take care of all the tech, which he can do in his sleep or even feverish, obviously.
I actually could. I mean, we could live stream it. We can do anything. I got all the equipment here. You don't even know what kind of equipment I have.
It's pretty remarkable. So yeah, I'll fly up. He'll drive in. We're going to make this happen. It's going to be wonderful. I'll bring some of my entourage along and we will make an event unlike anything that Indiana has ever seen.
Oh my gosh. And that just went out to all of the Galactic family. Oh my God. It's going to be nutty. All these people are going to be coming from all over the place.
I know. It's going to be great. Well, we're running out of time, which I don't believe in. It's a human machination, but still, we got to kind of stick to the freaking clock. But
it's not my fault.
It's not your fault, sweetheart. You're trying to run a, global network. I think I'll try to adhere to your atomic clock stuff.
It was a pleasure meeting you, Angie.
No, thank you guys. Seriously. And anytime, I'm already getting teary-eyed just hearing that. And like I said, the tribe of people that I have met, I've never met more pure, just good-hearted, like, non-selfish. I don't know. It's just been amazing. So
I will close the show by telling you what I tell so many people when I'm lecturing, and often open my lectures with this line. Mm-hmm. The happiest people I know are obsessed with death. But it's not death. It's life. They're obsessed with life and the afterlife and the search for answers and, the universal communion that goes on in the most eclectic group of people that you could ever meet. I mean, there's like no two of them are alike. And yet we all share this love and this curiosity and this fascination in common. And, whether it be through experiences or through a longing to have the experiences. And so I have a feeling that when we take this energy that I see on the screen right now and we put it all together in the same place, we're going to make a lot of magic happen. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being brave enough to come on this show tonight, being open enough to accept my friendship and my outreach the way that you did. We are connected and it is beautiful and we are all in this together. And so I will close the show out. Bill, thank you. Angie, thank you.
Keep doing the great work, Angie.
Thank you guys. Truly. I can't thank you enough. I'm speechless and that's hard to do. You keep doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty impossible for me too. But I will close it out by reiterating something that bears repeating. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Be the beacon of hope on the hill and be the light you seek. Thank you and good